Hey there, welcome back to another review, this time of the 2014 instant classic in my eyes, a infinity gem of a motion picture, Guardians of the Galaxy. Now, this is a movie that for me back in 2014 was a huge surprise, a much welcome surprise. I was always curious about it because of James Gunn's involvement, because he's one of my favorite directors. And I liked a lot of his work before he was signed on to do Guardians. And the trailers really grabbed me, really sold me. The film looked like a lot of fun. And I saw it in the theater. I actually saw it twice. I saw it once by myself, and I saw it another time with my parents. And I enjoyed it both times. And then I watched it again fairly recently to gear myself up for checking out Volume 2. And the film still holds up really well. It is one of my favorite Marvel films, easily. It captures that 80s charm really well. Like the type of charm you'd see in 80s films like The Goonies and The Monster Squad, with this group of characters that are likable and all have their different personalities and charisma. And they have great wit and great witty banter back and forth with one another. And, it's just a really fun film. It was a nice blast from the past because it was a movie that had its tongue planted firmly in its left cheek. It wasn't trying to take itself too seriously. It was just, being an all-out there, crazy fun sci-fi adventure. And, it came out of nowhere, and that makes the film really special to me. It's the first film that really showed me that, wow, Marvel, they are really on one hell of a roll. Because, admittedly, even though I was curious about it, I was worried about it doing well in the box office, because it does have a cast of fairly not very well known characters in the Marvel universe. So I did think that maybe it might not do that well, because these characters aren't that well known, and also at best it would be a minor hit and then a cult classic. But no, it was a huge hit, and it became a cultural phenomenon. And for a lot of people, they've actually said that it's their generation's Star Wars. And watching it again, I can see that. The same dynamic, the same magic that was in Star Wars in 1977 is present here in Guardians of the Galaxy. Now, Guardians of the Galaxy is directed by James Gunn. It's written by James Gunn and Nicole Perlman. And this script is definitely one of the best things about the film. It does a really great job writing the theme of the film, which in my opinion has to do a lot with the value of friendship and family. And also, the film really does a bang-up job with these characters, with Gamora, Star-Lord, Rocket Raccoon, Drax, Groot. I mean, it makes a anthropomorphic walking plant who only says, "I am Groot," a great character, a likable character, a character that actually has some emotion, a character you actually care about. And I think it's pretty crazy, considering it's an anthropomorphic walking tree that doesn't say anything except "I am Groot." But when it says "We are Groot" near the end, that was actually a really powerful moment because of how well done this script is. Drax is a character that is super serious, can't really take a joke. Nothing goes over my head, I will catch it. This type of character. And I was leery of Dave Bautista in the film because I'd seen his other acting roles and his previous attempts at acting, and it was not good. So I was like, oh great, he's not that great of an actor. But he actually nailed it, and he was perfect for this role. And it really showed me that, I guess, if you have the right role for Bautista, he can actually excel. Zoe Saldana was another actress that I was leery of being cast in the movie as Gamora, because previously I had seen her try to be a badass in films like Columbiana and failing, and her role as Uhura in Star Trek I was just on. but she actually sold me as well. She was great. And Chris Pratt, at the time, was a total unknown to me. I hadn't really watched the shows that he was in, but I was kind of drawn to him because I liked his character and his personality, and he's definitely my favorite character out of the film. I love Chris Pratt. He's great. He's like Han Solo, mixed up with a bit of Captain Kirk. He likes to bet all these women. He's got the wisecracks and everything, and also maybe even a little bit of Indiana Jones. Because think about it, what he's doing in the beginning is he's stealing some kind of artifact, which is very similar to what Indiana Jones does. He also has a satchel like Indiana Jones has, and of course, Rocket Raccoon is also great too. That's another character I was. This is just one of the biggest surprises for me when it comes to a recent Marvel film. The only other film I can think of that comes close to this is Ant-Man, because those are both films that I was like, I don't know if this is really going to work. Are these characters strong enough? Are these characters good enough for a feature film? And the movie proved that and then some. When I finally got around to see, when I saw it. Rocket Raccoon, voiced by Bradley Cooper, is a total laugh riot. He is just hilarious, irreverent, and so much fun to watch. And Bradley Cooper, I didn't even know it was him doing the voice, because he did such a great job changing his vocal inflection into something that you normally, if you've seen a lot of Bradley Cooper films, he doesn't sound like that in a lot of his films. So, and Rocket Raccoon is a character, I was like, it's a talking raccoon. Like, how is this going to work? And it did. It worked. It worked brilliantly. And in large part, that's because of the script by James Gunn and Nicole Perlman. It's based on Guardians of the Galaxy, the comics by Dan Abnett and Andy Lanning, and it features a really great cast. You have Chris Pratt as Peter Quill, Star-Lord, Zoe Saldana as Gamora, Dave Bautista as Drax the Destroyer, Vin Diesel as the voice of Groot, Bradley Cooper is the voice of Rocket Raccoon, Lee Pace as Ronan the Accuser. Ronan was like, if I want to talk about one of the very few negatives this film has for me, Ronan would probably be one of them. This is where the script was kind of lacking, is with this villain. He was a pretty forgettable villain. He was just some radical Kree who wants to get the Infinity Stone for Thanos in exchange for eradicating his enemies. But then he betrays Thanos and tries to take over everybody, take over the galaxy himself and destroy Thanos. And eventually he's stopped by the Guardians of the freaking galaxy. But there was a certain intimidation factor to him though, that I did like. He was this big, tall, burly motherfucker who you didn't want to fuck with. And I liked that about him, but he didn't have a lot other than just that. He was just intimidation. That's it. There was nothing else to his character. He was pretty bland. He's pretty forgettable. I would say he's a step up from the villain in Thor: The Dark World, but I would say that's not much, because that's one of the worst Marvel villains ever, in my opinion, is that guy. I can't even remember his name. At least I remember Ronan, what his name is. I just think that he should have had a little bit more. There should have been some more moments with this character, as he kind of came across as like a low-rent Darth Vader to me, or a low-rent Skeletor. Now, you also had Michael Rooker as Yondu, who was really fantastic in every scene he was in. I love the fact that he has this ability to whistle and control this arrow, which is just does all these badass things. There's this cool scene where he just takes out a bunch of Ronan's men with just this arrow. Just goes through all of them like butter. It's a great scene. Karen Gillian plays Nebula. She's solid. She's more here as kind of like a right-hand woman to Ronan. And she's there. The makeup effects are fantastic. This is another thing that's really great about this movie, is that when they had the ability to do it, when they decided to go with the makeup effects route and the practical effects route, they went that route with this movie. There's CGI in this, but it still holds up really well. But there's also a lot of practical stuff. Gamora, Drax, Nebula, Ronan, it's all practical makeup that they're wearing. It's not CGI that's just put on their face, I definitely did appreciate that. Djimon Hounsou plays Korath. It's just a lackey character. There's not much to that guy. John C. Reilly was good in a bit role as one of the Nova Corps corpsmen in Nova's Empire, in the Nova Empire's military and police force. Glenn Close was solid. She was effective as Rael, the leader of the Nova Corps. And Benicio del Toro, it was nice to see him as the role of the Collector. It was actually a perfect role for him. I would have liked to see more of this character, because I think this is a very fascinating character to me. And of course, you also had Josh Brolin playing Thanos, and you even had a little cameo by Howard the Duck, voiced by Seth Green. Now, so you have that excellent cast, great cast. The score by Tyler Bates I also thought was quite good. Mainly the main theme that they use for the characters, for the Guardians of the Galaxy. I thought that was a nice theme. Had a nice catchy tune to it, and it really captured the spirit of the film quite well. The cinematography by Ben Davis is also another highlight. It brings out a lot of these colors and a lot of the vibrant colors that are present in the film. Really gets the most out of the outer space aspects of it. This is especially quite evident in sequences on Nowhere. The editing by Fred Raskin, Craig Wood, and Hughes Winborn is fantastic. This film has some of the best editing I think I've seen in a film like this. Sci-fi action movie. Definitely one of the better edited Marvel movies. It's got a really tight editing. It's got unique editing too. There's a lot of different sort of things that are done with the editing that really do add even more flavor and personality to the film. And of course, James Gunn's direction, which he just handles this admittedly kind of a risky project with such a deft hand. It is such a really great film to showcase James Gunn's directing talent. And he really does knock it out of the park, because there are so many great sequences in this film. The way that they're shot, the way that they're put together, the sequences in the prison, anything with a fight. You have fight scenes in the film, which I really liked. Some of my favorite action bits in this movie were the bits of the fighting sequences that were done with, really wonderful and quite amazing fight choreography for a film like this, because all these characters had their own unique fighting style, and I really appreciated that. That really stood out to me in a really good way. And also, there's no shaky cam, there's no quick cut, there's none of that shit. So you could actually see these characters and do their thing, and do it and not have to like rewind the film or watch the scene again in order to see who did what. There was none of that. And that was really definitely something that I really liked about the film. Now, and even some of the space stuff and stuff with the spaceships and stuff like that, that was fine too. I would say the strongest sort of chase sequence with any kind of spacecraft was the stuff with the mining ships going up against Ronan's men, the Necrocraft. I thought that was a really well done sequence. And I would say the last stuff with the Nova Corps and the net and trying to stop Ronan, and the Ravagers trying to stop Ronan from landing on Nova Prime and trying to destroy it. That was a bit too much deja vu for me, because it's one of those, Marvel at this time had like almost every film had the same sort of ending, where it's like, oh, some city's going to get destroyed by something. So that was a bit, honestly, disappointing, because it was like, oh, it's another one of these climaxes. But it makes up for it by having this hilarious, just really fun way to end it, where how Star-Lord and the Guardians end up defeating Ronan, where he does the dance-off thing, which I thought was really inspired and really quirky, and it really... That scene is one of the... If I want to show people one scene to really show why I love Guardians of the Galaxy so much, it's stuff like that, or the stuff where Rocket Raccoon is asking, he's setting up the plan to break out of the prison, and he asks Chris Pratt to get the guy's leg. And Star-Lord goes through all this trouble, gets the leg, and Rocket's like, "You actually did that? I thought, I was just kidding, So, I mean, that kind of stuff. I mean, it's really, really entertaining. And it was a great crowd-pleasing moment when they all joined together and channeled the power of the Infinity Stone and destroyed Ronan. And I will always remember that line. And it's probably my favorite line in the film. It's a great one-liner. You said it yourself, bitch. We're the Guardians of the Galaxy. I love that. It was great. So, and yeah, the antagonistic relationship at the beginning with these characters was a lot of fun to watch. Chris Pratt's character was a real treat to me. He's got an attitude, but he's not a total asshole. He's actually likable. He's a scoundrel, but he's likable. Like Han Solo. I love the whole scene where they're arrested by Nova, and they're talking to him, saying that they're a bunch of a-holes, and then he just goes like, "Whoa, ah." I love that scene. And that really surprised me, too, because it's a Disney movie at the time. And I'm like, Disney had a movie with a middle finger in it? Holy shit. Whoa. That's pretty progressive for a Disney film. So, yeah, there's a little bit of an edge to it, which was nice. And very refreshing for a Disney movie. Like, there's a lot of adult humor in this. There's a lot of stuff in this that's questionable material for a Disney film. And Disney let it slide. And I really do appreciate that they did that. And, yeah, it's my type of film. I love movies like this with these kind of unique, fun characters. It's like Young Guns in outer space. That's actually a great way to sum it up, because if you've seen the film Young Guns, that's a film that has all these like fun characters with different personalities, and they team up and they're outlaws, and they team up and they fight together, and that's a lot of what this film is, and a lot of the fun vibe from Young Guns and films like it is present in Guardians of the Galaxy. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know what else to say about the film, except I want to do a little summary of my pros and my cons. Pros, great directing, great writing. For the most part, the villain could have been a little bit better written, but for the most part, it's a really strong screenplay. Really fantastic characters that are all likable and have different personalities that make them stand out, so they don't feel like they're the same people. The chemistry with the cast is phenomenal. Their performances are great. They all do their jobs really well. The film is immensely entertaining and fun to watch. It's got a great pace to it. The action, when it is there, is fun and exciting. The direction by James Gunn is really fantastic. I'm trying to think of... It's definitely spectacular. He really does a really underrated job directing this film, because this is not really an easy film to pull off because of all these characters and this subject material and the source material that is so unknown and alien to a lot of people. And he manages to just take all of it and make it a very relatable and entertaining and infinitely watchable good time at the movies. And a lot of that is because of the direction of James Gunn. James Gunn just really knows how to get the most out of these sort of weird, strange concepts and really make them have mainstream appeal. And the visual effects, when they were there, they were impressive. There were some really breathtaking, just beautiful, gorgeous shots of CGI animation. The as well as some really nice makeup effects job done on a few of the characters. The fully CGI characters, Groot and Rocket Raccoon, were really lifelike and very detailed. And there's just so much to like about this film. The dialogue, there's line after line of fun, witty, memorable lines of dialogue. The tone I thought was perfect. There was a little bit of some sad tone in the beginning with Rocket, not with Rocket, he had some stuff with Rocket, when he was drunk talking about, he didn't ask to be this and all of that. But, it felt like the seriousness, the serious moments, they were handled really well, and they didn't seem like they were just thrown in there, or they didn't feel like they were tacked on, and they felt like there was just enough of them to add enough weight to the proceedings. The stuff with Star-Lord's mom and stuff like that. But at the same time, it wasn't overloaded with it. So it didn't hurt the film, and it didn't end up hurting the overall tone of the movie, which could have easily been done if they had more of these serious scenes that are actually pretty depressing. If they had more of that, then it would make the film be a very divisive movie in terms of tone. But that's not what it is, which I definitely do. I definitely do appreciate that, and I know I've used appreciate a lot, but I don't know I can't think of another word to really use for this kind of thing, because it is something I appreciate immensely, is when a film has a consistent tone, and this is definitely one of those movies. So yeah, pretty much everything that could possibly be a pro about this film is a pro for me. The only cons I have is Ronan, how he's written. He's kind of a lame character. There's not much to him. He's a pretty forgettable villain. And the climax, I kind of felt they could have done something a little bit different. Maybe it wouldn't have been another city in peril type deal. But overall, they don't hurt the film that much for me, because if I was going to rate the film out of 5 stars, I give it 4.5 out of 5, because those are the only things that kind of hurt the film a little bit and knock it down a half a star for me. But that's just personal preference. But overall, it is a very, very, very strong film, and I'm definitely glad to have it in my collection. This is a movie that I will be enjoying for years to come. Like, I'll be checking this out, maybe again next year. I mean, this is like one of those films I could watch over and over again and never get tired of it. And this is a instant classic for me. And definitely, like I said, it's definitely one of my favorite Marvel films. So yeah, it always have a special place in my heart, because it was an absolute surprise. And I love finding gems like this that I wasn't expecting. I wasn't expecting this to be as good as it was, as great as it was. I was expecting maybe to be fun and a decent movie, but I wasn't expecting it to be an instant classic up there with films like The Goonies and The Monster Squad and Young Guns, or Flight of the Navigator or Star Wars or Return of the Jedi, and it's up there for me. It really is. It's right up in that upper echelon of sci-fi action movies. So, and of course, I can't believe the music. I mentioned the score, but I didn't mention the soundtrack. I mean, the awesome mix. That's another thing that was really great about this film, is that James Gunn and company, they did a fantastic, just really amazing, stellar job compiling all of these old songs into this movie, and it was a really refreshing experience to see a film like this in 2014 with these old school songs playing in the soundtrack. So that's another reason why I love it so much. So yeah, I don't know what else to say about Guardians of the Galaxy, except, yeah, rated already. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars, and yeah, I give it 2 thumbs up. It's a really good time at the movies, and if you haven't seen it yet, I definitely do recommend it. If it's been a while since you've seen it, I would go ahead and watch it again. It's definitely one of those fun movies that you can pop in your Blu-ray player or DVD player and just sit back with a can of soda and a bag of chips and just enjoy. And yeah, so it's definitely a classic, in my opinion. But anyway, thanks for watching my review of Guardians of the Galaxy. And as always, I will see you guys later. See ya!